Megan. Approach. On the air. So I would like to call the 130th annual meeting of All Saints Episcopal Church to order. If you have not gotten the handouts, they are in the narthex. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel here in Bayside for the renewal and mission of this, your parish church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory, guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. You have before you an agenda which we need to adopt officially. If I could have a motion to adopt the agenda. It's a cute little agenda. It needs a home. Thank you. Moved, seconded. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. It is adopted. I would like to make a motion. I'd like to have a motion made to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the 128th, that should say 129th annual meeting. So, okay, moved. Is it seconded? Thank you. And if only I had ink in my pen. In favor? Thank you. Those will be available to you online at some point or in the office. That brings us to our election of vestry, and I would point you to page 2 of the agenda, and that is the slate for this year. For senior warden for a 2-year term, January 23rd, 2022, today, to January 21st, 2024, Judy Badishoff. Judy is a clinical dietitian for the nursing home in Manhattan. And nearly, I changed it, lifelong Episcopalian. She's been an active member of All Saints for several years, and as senior warden has seen us through the difficult pandemic years. She's been one of our lay delegate to convention for the last 2 years, and Judy is the mother of our 2 most active acolytes, Christopher and Daniel. This would be Judy's 2nd term as senior warden. For junior warden, with much regret, I accepted the resignation of Cam Rutledge as junior warden. She felt that she was no longer able to faithfully discharge her duties. And so to fill in her unexpired term from today until January 22nd of 2023, Karen Friedel. Karen really doesn't need much introduction. She's been an active member of All Saints since 2005. And she was an active member before that and she was a warden at St. Paul's College Point for many years. She's a past treasurer of All Saints, a vestry member, and a devoted member of the choir, an altar guild member as well, and she works tirelessly behind the scenes in the thrift shop. Karen will complete the term of the retiring junior warden, Cam Rutledge. For 3-year terms, returning to the vestry, Robert Earl, who was born in Jamaica, West Indies, but he grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. Therefore, you know that he is a good candidate. Even if he did go to AI and not Tower Hill, but never mind. He has been a finance professional for over 20 years. Robert and his wife Sharon and their daughter Dominique have been active members of the parish for many years. In his recent tenure as treasurer, Robert has successfully guided the church through the rough years of the pandemic. He was instrumental in getting All Saints online and brings both vision and skill to the vestry. And I'm glad to say that he will continue as our treasurer. Mark Palmieri, who was not able to be here today, Mark has a number of things pulling at him, but he's no stranger to us either. He's running for a second term on the vestry. You know, he was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays out of college, but Mark's career path has been more on stage, on the written page, and in the halls of academia than on the baseball diamond, although he spends plenty of time there volunteering. He's a professor at Mercy College, a talented actor and an author. He's got Mark and his wife Kristen and their daughters Anna and Nora have been active members of All Saints since 2015. Mark immortalized our Zoom passion narrative in 2020 with his highly successful play, Waiting for the Host. This will be his second term, and Mark's got a new book coming out in the summer as well. And finally, Brianne Leslie Dougherty. Brianne has been an active member of All Saints since 2008. When possible, she's an 8 o'clocker. And she attends as many parish events as her busy work schedule allows. She's been a lector and has served as a chalice bearer. Professionally, Brianne is a licensed massage therapist. We really need to add that word to the bio, please, Megan. A licensed massage therapist. It really kicks it up a notch to being a serious profession. She's also an emergency response chaplain with the New York City Disaster Chaplaincy Service and has been recruited by the Red Cross. Brianne brings a deep faith, a practical outlook, and vision for growth to the vestry, and this will also be Brianne's second term. So as the voting for vestry I look out and I see that you are all eligible to vote. The requirements are that you be over 16, that you be a faithful member or a faithful attender at worship over the last 6 months, and that you've made an identifiable financial contribution. I see that everyone meets those criteria. We have the vestry slate as it is. I would like to save us some time if we could have a motion to vote the slate as presented.
I make a motion to vote the slate as presented.
And Karen has seconded it, although I'm not sure that's kosher since you're on it. We have a kosher, we have a slightly more kosher second. It might be fine. I mean, second, we got a third. All in favor?
Aye.
So thank you very much, and thank you, and welcome back. I think it's a welcome back to everyone this year. That's a very unusual thing. So, okay. That brings us to my report, which which I have written down, and I will give you the highlights. I'm going to wet my whistle before I do. From our parish register, which some years tells a story. This year it doesn't, I don't think. Our total Saturday evening, Sunday attendance is 1,106 in person. Our average Sunday attendance is 21 in person. Our total Easter attendance, that can't be right. It said 3. That is incorrect. That was correct in 2020. Christmas attendance, I believe, is correct at 39. As you may recall, we had a visit from COVID at Christmas time in the rectory, and that kept a lot of people away, sensibly enough. Our total communion received is about 1,052. We've had 51 Saturday and Sunday evening, or Saturday evening, this is how they write it in the big red book. 51 Eucharist services, 1 morning prayer. We've had 3 baptisms this year. No confirmations, but we did have a marriage. And we've had 6 burials. So, now, it's important that I'm going to stress again that these are our in-person numbers only, and they really do not reflect the reality, and Teddy's going to talk about that in his report a little bit. So, worship and liturgy. As strange as it seems, 2021 was a more normal year than 2020. Our in-person numbers, again, if taken by themselves, are a bit disheartening, but the very fact that we had 52 weeks of in-person services, to me, is encouraging, and it takes more than a rampant virus to shut down All Saints. We were able to observe all the high points of the liturgical year, as well as worshiping together throughout the ordinary times. Of course, liturgy is defined as the work of the people, and that happens because we come together. I want to thank the people who helped to lead the worship each week, Christopher and Daniel Badashoff and Albert Ajiman, Acolytes Deluxe, Arkady Letush, our talented and patient organist choir master, the choir, the Altar Guild, who have been able to resume their ministry in the last few weeks, our faithful usher and senior warden, Judy Badashoff. And because I have the luxury of taking her for granted, I want to be sure that I do not do so, but rather to thank Susan for her dozens of weeks of reading and singing and Altar Guild service. And my thanks also to our deacon, Marjorie Boyden Edmonds, for her loving care of All Saints and your rector, and for livening up services when she's here. And finally, my thanks to our tech whiz, Teddy, who makes our online worship the highest quality possible. And last but not least, everyone I have missed, and all of you who gather each week. I'm sure I have missed important people, and it's not intentional, I assure you. You just know me by now. One of the things that we were able to do was to invigorate Youth and Family Sunday and make sure that the focus was on children on one Sunday a month in the liturgy. 2021 saw the return of the Christmas pageant live, and again, that visit of COVID to the rectory bumped it from Christmas Eve. We were able to regroup and to perform the pageant on Epiphany. My thanks to all the church school families that made that happen, and to the even to the college kids that came back, and to the adults that helped out. Christian formation, I'm going to leave mostly to Susan, but we've been continuing to have an innovative approach. In Advent, I offered a second annual daily online Advent calendar, which included a prayer and a brief meditation. This year, the opening of each door on the Advent calendar revealed a saint. Now, here's the thing. In the Episcopal Church, you may have learned that if anything happens twice, it's annual. So I'm already thinking about Advent 2022. Okay. In the diocesan deanery, it was in 2021 at the diocesan convention, I was reelected to the board of managers of Camp de Wolf. We had to cancel the traditional summer camp season, but the camp had a very successful season of camping for family groups. Slightly different model, but groups taking time away in the renovated, you'll be glad to know, cabins. They're actually air conditioned now. If you have ever been to Camp de Wolf and spent time in those cabins, you would not recognize them anymore. They're really very nice indeed. This year marks the 75th anniversary of Camp de Wolf, and we'll be planning some celebratory events for that. I also continue to serve as chaplain to the Diocesan Altar Guild. And this summer, I was elected to be the second vice president of the National Altar Guild Association. I broke a stained glass ceiling there because they've never had a clergy person on the board before, and they've never had a priest or a man on as a vice president before. So we're having some fun with that. Yeah, one of those jobs I probably won't be running for re-election for. But it's good because it gets us out there a little bit. It gets our little church out there, and that's really why I do it for the national church. And in that role, I will be attending the General Convention in Baltimore in July. That's the 2021 annual national convention that's happening in 2022. So again, COVID rears its ugly head. In the Buildings Administration and Personnel Department, the pandemic continues to present everyone with serious challenges. Our parish house tenant, Mosaic Church, was really hit pretty hard financially, and they continue to be paying only partial rent. The good news is they're paying 3/4 rent. This time last year, they were paying only half. They also are paying their full utilities. So it's not perfect, but it's getting there, and I will be working with the chancellor in the diocese and perhaps also with the buildings and grounds people in the diocese to find out just what we can do to goose that up a little bit. We do not have any plans to release them from any of their obligations to All Saints. So again, to thank Kim Rutledge for her tireless work as junior warden for 2.5 terms. The list of projects and problems seems always to be long, but thanks to her hard work, we're in pretty good shape. The list continues, but I also want to thank Nancy McCarthy for her hard work in keeping the church running smoothly. She has had some health problems, and so she resigned as sexton, but she is still our parish administrator and bookkeeper. And Nancy is now in only on Fridays, and her going down to 1 day a week has saved us considerable money. We're now using a cleaning service. It does, as I say, it does save a fair amount of money, and I'm sure Robert will talk about that. But I've had to pick up some of the work that a sexton would normally do. And I don't mind, but you should know that I have to do it. In outreach and evangelism, in 2021, almost everything we did was outreach and evangelism. We're reaching people all over the country with our webcast of services and events like Major Tom's Coffee House. Thanks largely to Teddy and Diana and to Stephanie Hornback, we have an ever stronger online and social media presence. Just a word on Major Tom's Coffee House. That gets us people who are not necessarily parishioners, but it gets us into the community, and that's important. Getting it on the air, though, is difficult and is very time-consuming. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to find an honorarium for that if we are going to continue to put it on the air, because it eats a great deal of time. And Teddy is not a volunteer. Teddy's a volunteer, but he's also a professional. And so in order to keep that happening, I'm hoping that we can somehow find some donations for that. And that does reach a fairly wide audience. The thrift shop has not been open because there is no ventilation down there. If you've ever been down, you'll know that it smells like a thrift shop because we've had to leave it closed. But items do keep appearing, and thanks to Kim and to Karen, they get sorted, and things that should be kept are kept. Things that need to be passed down the donation line are passed down the donation line to St. Mary's and to a veterans in VA, is it? Veterans. The veterans. And so nothing goes to waste around here. It just, it's all used. So that's kind of 2021 in a nutshell. But the annual meeting is also about setting goals. In 2020, I made the mistake of having the goal that we would get all of our services online. Oops. We did that in spades. So some specific goals for 2022. And I alluded to this in my sermon this morning, revitalize stewardship with an emphasis on time and talent, create more opportunities for adult education. That has really, the not being able to be together has really gutted that. So hopefully we can find ways to increase that. I'd like us to be celebrating our 130th anniversary. It's something well worth celebrating. As I mentioned in the sermon also, we must replace the roof, paint as needed, and replace signage. I'd hope to revitalize the Flushing Deanery Youth Fellowship and perhaps even the Flushing Deanery Clergy group. We need to get a little bit more new energy. Unfortunately, our good friend and dean, Dario Palazzi, is planning to retire shortly. And so I'm not sure where that's going to leave us, but it may leave you the rector who's also the dean of the deanery. Which would be okay with me. I'd like to, despite what I just said, I'd like to find a little bit more time for rest and for study so I can serve you more effectively. I was unable to take either my hoped-for sabbatical in 2020 or 2021 or my full vacation time for either of the last 2 years, and I'm going to hope for a sabbatical not this year, but in 2023. It takes a lot of preparation and looking ahead. So in 2023, I hope to be able to take a sabbatical. And to conclude the 2022 report, I want to thank the vestry for their steadfastness and their flexibility. Our meetings have been a movable feast, but our meetings have been really good. I don't go home from vestry meetings feeling like I've been through the ringer or feeling beat up, and that's not always the case with vestry meetings. I think that you have a group here who has vision, who has faith, who believes that we can overcome the pandemic and we can overcome whatever comes our way. So thank you all, vestry, very much for your good work, and especially to Judy, I want to thank you for your help. She's never more than a text away, and you've helped me immeasurably to get through this challenging year. So I appreciate your dedication and everyone's dedication. I appreciate her humor and her wisdom and her faithfulness as well. So my thanks to each of you for your work, and my thanks to each of you for being here and being part of this wonderful place. So questions? Yes?
How long is the sabbatical?
6 weeks, I think. I could be wrong. Could be more than that, but I think it's 6 weeks. You're supposed to get them every 5 years, and I've been a priest for 25 years. I've never had one.
Wait. You're talking 150.
So, and the way we had that worked out is that you may remember that I covered for Dario on his sabbatical. Now the rat's retiring before he can cover for me on mine. But, yes.
Do you think you'll be able to get a priest to come in? And how does that work? Do we pay them as a supply priest, or is it just reciprocity?
No, Dario and I were trying to be cheap and frugal and work together, because we really believe that the deanery, we really believe in the 5 churches, 1 community idea of the deanery. Whether that'll be possible again to find someone to do the reciprocity with, I don't know. Otherwise, yes, the parish is responsible for paying a supply clergy person. But we haven't had a supply clergy here for about 10 years, so.
Right. We don't want them again.
Yes, there is, for a sabbatical, there is a financial piece to it for the parish, which is why I'm not going to try to do it in 2022. Plus, with our home life being what it is, there's not much freedom, so to get away. So, other questions? That was a good question.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
Morning prayers an option? Periodically, I'm not saying every.
Question about, is morning prayer periodically an option during a sabbatical? Yes, of course it is. But if you look in our book, you'll see how many people come to morning prayer. But once in a while, yeah. That will be kind of up to you all as the vestry. So, anything else? Okay, in that case, then I will invite our treasurer to come. Robert.
So what's that old line by Al Pacino, just when you think you're out? So, I'm definitely pleased. Again, I've been treasurer since 2018. Again, pleased to be back on vestry. The running joke with Father is I'm usually sticking around for the meetings anyway, so hey, might as well just make it official. So this year, I don't know if you've all had a chance to take a look at the financial report. Usually, the treasurer's report is something that everyone takes a moment, kind of digest, look through the numbers, and usually if there's any questions, that's when we'll kind of tackle them. But I'd like to kind of just go over some highlights of the year. Long story short, in 2021, we actually we made more than we thought we were going to. And then from an expense point of view, we spent less than we thought we were going to. So that's always a good position to be in. Just to kind of give you some numbers, so we actually took in, for 2021, total revenue, $209,345. Compared to 2020, we were up 8%, so that's great. Offerings were kind of flat a little bit, but they experienced a little bump because we're having more in person. So online pledges, regular pledges stayed about the same. I think based on what we predicted, it was only above $100. But now we're seeing loose plate, and of course, because we're online, holidays. When we're open for Christmas and Easter, folks are coming in. Loose plate and holiday donations always increase that. Total activities, we actually did very well in activities this year, $18,576. Again, due to some, and I have it in the report, but due to some stellar efforts by our events, the communications committee, and our Holly Bazaar. Actually, again, applause to Stephanie for our work for the Holly Bazaar. I think going into the pandemic, every year we do a Holly Bazaar. Last year we did virtual. We had to pivot. Nobody could meet, but again, through Stephanie and Andy's work and Teddy's work, we actually were able to pivot and do virtual. This year, we were able to come back and do in person. So we did a hybrid. It was virtual and in person. And the day went so smoothly, everything went smoothly. I think we had people talking about how well received it was, how well the event was. And they were even looking forward to next year. I think Stephanie and Andy will talk about this, but, I think we even had vendors who were looking forward to signing up for next year. So, that's definitely a great thing. I think this year, and I'm going to put Steph on the spot again, especially like we had lanyards, and I think especially like the lanyards for the All Saints members. So, again, a great event. So we did well. The other thing we also did is our Christmas in July telethon. So, again, not being able to meet, not being able to do a lot of traditional methods of fundraising. Again, Teddy, Andy, we came up with a different way of doing it. So again, much thanks to Teddy, Andy, Diana, Mark, and everyone else who participated in the Christmas in July telethon. Between those, we've done a lot of good fundraising. So looking forward to kind of continuing that. Parish property rentals, that was down compared to last year, only $77,150. As Father mentioned earlier, we're continuing to get not the full rent from our neighbors next door. Although they've upped it, they used to be at half, now they're at 3/4. And I think going into this year, they're probably going to even increase that even more. The other thing that we saw a decline in is because it's not just parish house, but we were also able to rent out and do events in the church and the common room. So those events, because we weren't open 100%, we saw a decline in revenue because of that. So again, continue to do it, but like I said, we're definitely feeling that crunch for it. Expenses, as I said, we were down actually 3% in expenses compared to last year. So that's always a good thing. With all the things that we had going on, we still managed to be lower, which you always want to be in a good position. I won't go through the individual numbers. I've kind of left them, they're in the report. But a couple things, as Father said, what we've done is we've taken the advantage of any changes, opportunities to pivot and move in a different direction. Again, case in point, when Nancy stepped down as sexton, instead of trying to find another sexton, we were able to actually contract with an outside company. And that actually, that change will save us compared to, sexton salary versus that annual amount. But it actually saves us $8,400 a year. So, yep. So again, it gives you an idea. We're trying to find different ways of doing things that that would actually lead to a reduction in our overall expenses. Because again, like I said in 2020, trying to be fiscally conservative, right? Couple other increases you see. Utilities were very much in line to where we thought they would be. Maintenance, contract maintenance was actually less than last year. You'll see a bump in equipment. The bump in equipment is, again, the purchases that we made for all the technology upgrades, the tech upgrades. But again, those are offset by the funds raised by the telethon. Our bank accounts, like I said, bank accounts are kind of still where they were. So our 120 account actually closed the year with 12,496, just shy of 12,005. We did, because of last year being challenging, we did end up doing transfers from the endowments. I think originally I predicted that there was going to be a shortfall of about 99,000. We were able to secure a PPP loan, a second draw for the PPP loan back in March. So we were able to secure $31,672. We got our first one forgiven, so now that we're into this new year, we're applying for the second one to have that one forgiven too. So that brought our actual deficit down to 71,000. Again, we took 50,000 from the endowment, but pleased to say that we only spent 35,000 of it, so 37,000 of it. So we still have 12,500 sitting in our 120 account. That's to be used for operations. I make note of that because in the budget, and we'll talk when we get to the budget, we'll chat about it, but I'm actually including that as part of the amount that we don't need to take from the endowment. So again, you guys know me, I'm staying away from the endowment as much as possible. The operating account, again, closed the year 28,000, and again, we had a good, because we were open, and again, we were seeing a lot of loose play. Everyone was actually up to date with Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the holidays, so we definitely saw a bump there. Investment accounts, again, pretty static to where they were. Endowment cash, 276,294. As I mentioned last year, I'm not in a rush to reinvest those funds into CDs just because we're in a pandemic and we want to make sure we have enough liquidity to meet our needs. So, plus the rates are really dismal right now. So rather than lock something up at a really terrible rate, let's just keep it cash until we need to. And then, hopefully we'll see better rates this year. It's actually projected that the Fed's going to maybe do 3 rate increases. So hopefully that will create a better interest rate environment. And at least that way we can kind of start moving back into CDs to kind of take advantage of that. Again, CDs, I think we still have some CDs outstanding, 76,918. Online giving, just want to talk about that for a second. So we're still using Tidely, and it's still doing well for us. We were able to use Tidely for not only pledges, online donations, but when we had vendors who needed to pay for their Holly Bazaar tables, stuff like that, they were able to pay through Tidely. You know, Altar Guild was able to get, you know, people were able to send in payments for the gifts for the altar flowers and the lamps. We also had, you know, and I actually told the vestry this, we had, I guess, a past parishioner who's in Minnesota now, and she actually sent in a payment of $400 through the website. So it caught my attention. You know, it was a little hiccup with it. I had to actually reach out to her, and you know, she said, "Okay, fine, we'll fix it," and she resent it. But just the fact that they're in Minnesota, sending All Saints All Saints donations, that's definitely helpful.
Something to smile about.
Yep, I am. I'm smiling. You can't see it, but I'm
No,
definitely.
that was a hint to mention Amazon.
So, oh, yeah, Amazon Smile. And also, I think Father mentioned this last year, he's mentioning it again. So, Amazon, if you're shopping on Amazon, it's important to use smile.amazon.com, because that way you can actually designate a portion of your purchase. Trying to remember the actual percentage.
It's
Like,
a 1/10 of a percent or something.
Tenth of a
It's really-
percent.
It's enormous.
How much money does that bring in?
you know what? Good question, Marge. And
It was
I'm,
$34, I think, so far this year.
Mhm.
It's $34 more than we would have had.
Exactly.
And you spent money anyway, so you gave something back to the church.
And once you set it up with Amazon, you shouldn't have to go through Smile each time.
Yeah.
It should just show
Right.
donated towards Smile for your purchase. So it's really a one-time setup.
Does it cost the person that's purchasing?
No, it doesn't.
No,
It doesn't. I use it all the time. You know, Sharon.
Mention it to people that purchase.
it's automatic. Once you put your charity into the Smile, whatever the.
Right. So the first time you use it, it'll ask where do you have to donate, you know, designate your charity. So, and because All Saints is a registered 501c3 charity, you know, we're able to put in there. I mean, you know, Sharon and Dominique will tell you all the time. I'm like, hey, they're talking about Amazon purchases. I'm like, did you do Smile? Did you do Smile? So yeah, they'll tell you. I'm that guy running around the house saying, you know, did you do that? So.
And if you do it, when you're set up, like you can go onto your account and it'll show you that you donate to All Saints, and it'll tell you how much you've actually generated. It's not as
Not
big as
a
you,
lot.
it's not as big as it should be for the amount you've spent on Amazon, but,
Judy's was $500.
but it will tell you how much the church has received in total. So it does say here that as of November, we had $32.46. So you figure everybody shopped for Christmas. There should be a bump in our Smile account.
Right.
Beats a poking out with a sharp stick.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I asked Father to get something on Amazon recently, and I was like, make sure you do Smile.
Mine always does. It's
So.
automatically.
But yeah, but you know what? It's these are these little ways that, you know what, they're out there. They're opportunities for us. I mean, again, not a whopping amount, but it's there. And again, over time, it'll still continue to get us funds we need. But kind of finishing up with Tidely for a second. So just to give you an idea, so online giving through Tidely for last year was actually $20,600. So we're getting a good amount of people who are using it. I know last year I mentioned that, you know, you could actually set them up as recurring or monthly. So there are a number of folks who have done that. You know, you set it and forget it. So every month it automatically does your All Saints donation. So, but that's something to think about. And again, you know what? If it's great, there's no upfront monthly cost. Everything is taken out of the actual payment itself, and it even gives the remitter the option to cover the fees. So for those individuals who say, you know what, okay, I want to give X amount to All Saints, and I want All Saints to get the full amount, then they'll actually opt to cover the fees. However, all those charges, all those costs, anything you give to a church, anything you give to a nonprofit is tax deductible. So even the fees are tax deductible. So I remember that was one question that came up. Anyway, Stella.
So that means that when we get the statement from Tidely for the church,
Mhm.
and individuals are listed,
Mhm.
that their statement will reflect the fact that you paid for those fees?
Yes.
Or you have to do a separate?
No. So what happens, the process is every month, when Nancy's preparing her bookkeeping statement, Nancy will reach out to me and say, hey, I need the Tidely numbers. I download a report from Tidely, send that to her, and in there it shows the amount collected, the fees charged, and then the net amount. All right, so, you know, we talked about this early on when we were using Tidely, and I told Nancy, I said, listen, put everything in. So if someone paid, you know, let's say someone paid $50, and let's say the fee was like $2 on top of that $50, give them credit for all $52, because for us, it's a cost of doing business, right? So, you know what, we'll take the 52, and then there's actually a line item on the financials. It's actually under, originally it was bank fees, but then I put the online giving charges under. It's a cost for us, right? It's cost just like any other vendor. So again, you know, everything that you give us in that transaction, you should get credit for that. And then what we have to pay to collect that should be our problem, not yours.
Another question?
Yes.
As far as the Alta Guild is concerned, if monies come in for the Alta Guild, how are they given to our treasurer?
Usually if Carol reaches out to Nancy, I know Nancy I think Nancy communicates that, and, you know, I'm a little fuzzy in the process, and Father maybe. It's communicated that if there's money coming in for the Altar Guild, I know we've written checks out to the Altar Guild to say, here are some funds over, so.
There's been things in the mailboxes that Nancy put there.
Mhm.
Now, so, but I don't know.
But did you get a check
From who?
from Nancy? And was there a check in there?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll circle back. I'll circle back with Nancy, but that's the idea. I mean,
The only
what,
reason I say that is because the Alta Guild runs separate, as a separate entity.
No, I know.
You know,
the Altar Guild runs separate, and I originally thought of if there's a way to set up Tidely for the Altar Guild, but the Altar Guild's accounts are still tied to All Saints tax ID. So then that would get a little convoluted. So again, the idea, I mean, and Carol, if you want to see me, we can talk about exactly a process and how to make sure that anything that comes in. When someone makes a payment on Tidely, they indicate it's for flowers. So it's easy for us to actually go back and look at the report to say these payments are for Altar Guild. Okay? Marge, I think you had a question.
I've never used Tidely. When you do that, do you give them access to your checking account? Do you charge it? How do you?
So Tidely is like an online vendor, right? So if you're buying things, you could actually, so you would go on there, you say, I want to make a donation. At that point, they give you the chance to either use a credit card, or you can give them your bank account information for an ACH or a draft debit from your account. So it's up to you. The fees for the credit card are a little higher than the bank draft, just because. And then for us, if you do a credit card, the funds show up in our bank account 2 days later, versus for the ACH/bank draft, it takes about 10 days. So if you do it Sunday, we get it not the Tuesday after, but the following Tuesday.
one more question?
Yes.
I see that Mosaic Church right now owes us $154,375. When you say that they're paying 3/4, they're not paying 3/4 of their monthly, they're paying half, and then they're catching up with the monies that they owe?
So they're paying 3/4 of the monthly. So their monthly rent was $12,500, right? So they're paying.
It's still incurring.
They're still incurring, yes. So each month, and we actually put that out there. So whenever we get their rent payments, we'll send them an invoice saying, yeah, here's your rent due, and oh, by the way, you still have this past due amount. So we're sure to make sure we update that information. Because as Father said, we have no intention of forgiving that. We can't forgive it. You know, and again, I really don't want to talk too much about this, just because if we kind of go down this road where it gets more involved and it gets more formal, you know, again, this is an open forum and we are kind of live streamed to the world here. So I really don't want to talk too much about it, but they're paying 3/4 of their monthly rent, they're still incurring. So whatever they don't pay, we put in that past due amount, and we let them know about that.
They get invoiced every month.
And they get invoiced every month, in which we remind them, listen, you still owe us this, and we still need, we're gonna still, I mean, and again, the efforts are ongoing, but, you know, the goal is to come to the table and discuss with them how we're gonna remediate that past due amount.
First, I'm super impressed by the fiscal prudence of the vestry. It's outstanding. Just sort of philosophically with taking money from the endowment from the principal, is there any thought to repaying the principal?
Yes, so we, what was it, 2020, we were actually in a position to repay, I think it was 2019, 2020. So we've been drawing down on the endowment for years, and we actually came into, because of some damage that we had in the parish house, we were able to actually file a claim with an insurance company and get those funds back. So we got about $90,000 back, to which we sent back to the endowment fund. So yeah, so we're always, you know, the endowment fund has been there. It's our rainy day fund. And if you draw down on it, eventually you're either gonna like run out, or you've got to put something back. Going back to the question Stella just asked about the past due amount, and we talked about this in a recent investor meeting. When we start getting those past due amounts in, you know, yes, we have expenses around the church that have to be addressed, but, you know, we also have to put a portion of that back into the endowment, you know. And again, when we get to a place where, you know, Mosaic's back to full rent, then at least they're covering enough of the expenses, and between that and our parishioners, yeah, we're gonna start putting that back on a regular basis. You know, I'm of the firm belief that if we have change sitting there where you can access it, we'll find something to do with it. And, and, you know, we definitely have to put those funds back, because again, we've been here for 130 years. We want to make sure we're here for another 130 years. So we've got to build that up and put that back in order for that to be drawn on, in case, you know, again, whatever comes our way. Steph?
Has the vestry thought about doing a capital campaign for the roof? You know,
Yeah.
Those
and we have
plans
a-
are already in flight.
I'm sorry?
Those plans are already in flight.
Yep.
Yeah, they're in place, and we put in a grant request also.
We're doing a grant request. We're going to be doing a capital campaign. It's our 130th year. So again, I think we're going to be
So you're
doing.
gonna be asking the parish, you know, if they would like to donate toward a program to pay for the roof?
We're going to ask anybody with a pulse.
We want to keep the roof over our head, literally.
We need a roof, and that's.
And,
Nope.
yeah, we're going to try to be creative about that, and, you know, go beyond just the big thermometer outside, but find where we might, what possible, venue, you know, where we might possibly get funding. You know, it's, because it's serious coin, to do this roof. And, you know, there are places that we may not even know about, and this is where the diocese can help us, in addition to their grant, which we can probably get, and have already applied for, which would be about a quarter of it. We need to get as creative as we possibly can.
How much do you think the roof will be?
90 or so, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, probably more than it cost to build the building. Like a lot more.
So, but yeah, no, definitely. I think, and I mentioned this in the report, you know what, these are different times, you know, again, with everything happening, and, you know, as we're coming out of the pandemic, and it's taught us a lot about ourselves. You know, we have to find and pivot and find all sorts of new ways to make sure we, you know, we support our church home. You know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Yeah, we'll get some rental income from the parish next door, or from the Mosaic Church next door, but, you know, we're still a charitable organization. We're still, you know, supported by our parishioners. Again, the vestry, again, you know, we're pretty open-minded to whatever and their ideas, and I think, as Father mentioned, it's a good working group, and, you know, we toss out ideas, and we talk them, we have, you know, healthy debate, and we talk about whatever ideas are out there, and we explore that. So, yeah, we're definitely gonna be seeing more of that. Now, for that reason, you know, and I know if you've looked at the budget, you know, again, looked at the 2022 budget, you know, again, trying to, some of the things I've projected in there, projected an increase in the rental income from Mosaic as we start to kind of come out of this, but also going to try and project that, you know, we're going to find new ways of finding church support. That said, you know, and again, doing what we have to do to lower our expenses, we're still projecting to be in a deficit of about $74,795, just under $75,000. If you offset the $12,500 that we have in the 120 account, that brings it to about $62,000. So, yeah, again, you know, not looking to go into the endowment, but, you know, it's the reality, and we may have to. It's raining, so. But the good thing is, again, it's not, you know, in years past, it's been a deluge, you know. There were years where we were actually taking 100,000 from the endowment a year. So, you know, the fact that we're only taking, you know, last year, I'm very happy that we only took 50,000. We projected that we would be a shortfall of 98,000. We only took 50. So we were able to make up the difference, you know. Again, we got creative, we did this, we did that, we were able to make up the difference. So. It is. I'll tell you again, man. It is, where did I have it? Endowment, I think it's like 3, I'll tell you right here. It is, in my report, yeah, so in page 2 of the summary of the report, $353,212. And 8 cents. Yeah, it's the investment summary, it's right across from the pie chart. 353,212.
That's left to the endowment.
That's left in the endowment. Well, again, Eddie, that's the point. We have to resist touching it as much as possible. So again, I mean, case in point, the floor, right? Father ripped up the floor, ripped up the carpeting, did the work in here, you know, and again, kudos to him, because to have someone come in and do that, you know, we would have had to pay for that. So, you know, again, bootstrapping, right? That's what we have to do. We have to figure.
And I keep thinking about that, as a matter of fact.
But see, no wax means you don't have people falling, which means.
There you go.
There you go. So you gotta think about these things.
When we water the flowers, it doesn't leave watermarks.
There you go. There you go. When we get back to, you know, full attendance, and yeah, we can look into doing all of that. But again, I think for now, I think we leave it as it is. Sorry, margin and stuff.
These figures are so tiny. What is the bottom line of the profit of the bazaar?
What was? Actually, I think the Holly Bazaar report is on a different report that you may have picked up. Yep, I think it was. So yeah, 39, I guess 38 and change, so just shy of $3,900. And again, yeah, it was.
I could tell you, it was, the profit was $3,835.41.
And 41 cents. So, yeah,
If you want to know each category, I can tell you that too.
all right, Stella?
I'm thinking, you know, we're all trying to save,
Mhm.
and church on Sunday.
Mhm.
If we could forego a colored leaflet, Father, it looks beautiful, and I enjoy it. And just to have parishioners take home a prayer book and bring that one with them. I know that COVID has prevented books to be out to be used, but if a parishioner brought their prayer book every Sunday when they came, then we could cut down on doing a whole service as in a leaflet, as a copy. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that would be one way to do it. The other way to do it would be to invite people to bring their tablets or their phones, because you can do it that way as well. It's on the website every week, so you can do it that way. I think that that's a piece of evangelism, and I think it's for the people that come. I think it's important. I'm not sure that that's where I want to save pennies. And it really would be pennies that we'd be saving, because we're doing, we're gonna, and this week I printed about 40 bulletins. I normally don't print that many, but I thought we'd have a bigger turnout than we did today. Normally I print 25. So I think we're not looking at a significant savings versus the cost in terms of being user-friendly. So I know that nothing turns me off in a church faster than a bulletin that's hard to use. When I was seminary shopping, I went to General Seminary, and I went in for the worship service, and I had no idea what was going on. And I've been doing liturgy at that point for 30 years, all my life, and nobody would help me with it, and there was no bulletin, and I was like, I was by an hour into my visit there, I was done with that place. So I think that what we do here reaches that. Yeah, we could do it in black and white. It would save a few pennies, but yeah.
I feel like people follow the service better with the leaflet.
Oh yeah, they do. And having to put in the music, that's eventually we'll get out of this and we'll go back to prayer books and hymnals. But for now, but we can also, but we can encourage people to bring their iPads or bring their phones. That's what they do at like a general convention. Everything was on the phone or on an iPad. So it saved, printing.
The only time we encourage you to use your phone.
That's right. It saved printing 5,000 bulletins.
Huh? And to make tidely donations.
Yeah.
There you go. Stella, I think one of the things, and I think Father was kind of getting to this too, when we have visitors approach, again, it's kind of like putting our best foot forward. So it's kind of like, here's who we are, here's the level of service we are. So yeah. So like we said, it's something that we're mindful of. But again, like Father said, if we can shave in some other way, and at least that way we can keep that. But like you said, you're encouraged to download it, to do it on your tablet, on your phone. We actually have Wi-Fi.
By that time, all the leaflets have been printed, is what
Yeah, but if I know how many leaflets if I know I'm only going to print like 20 or so leaflets and we're going to have 35 people, right there's a savings. And I would say that the amount of snow clearing that I've done over the last year and a half has covered the price of the bulletins.
we're not,
No, I'm serious.
put our heads together.
I just want to say this, that I think the bulletin's an important piece. And
That was just a suggestion.
And I think honestly that my shoveling the snow, which I guarantee you no other cleric in this deanery does, that covers it. So.
Question.
Yes.
Regarding the contract that we have for the printer,
Mhm.
is there a difference in rate between a color page and a black and white page?
There is. There is.
So if we really truly wanted to look at that and examine what that cost differential is, my guess is that's gonna come down to maybe $20, $30 a year. at most,
Mhm.
and that's all. I mean,
There is, I mean, and again, I think I also mentioned in my report, one of the things we're gonna do in the coming year is kind of look at these existing contracts and say, hey, listen, how do we do this more efficiently? How do we do it more cost effectively? You know, we have to look at that. So, again, if it's one of those things, that actually, and I mentioned that, copiers is definitely something I wanna take a look at and revisit. So, Carol?
I have a question about the secretary's income. It was listed and budgeted for 21 to 19 plus, the actual was 15 plus, and the budget for 22 is back up to 19 plus. What happened with what line? Under, item number 73. So what was the difference of that 4,000?
Well, I think we did, when we put the budget together for last year, Nancy was coming in 2 days a week. Then, actually, 3 days a week. So then she ended up having surgery, and then she's now down to 1 day a week. So although I have it listed in the budget as an increase for her per hour, chances are we're not going to use all of that because she's not coming in the full amount.
Okay, so she will not be earning that 19 whatever.
We have, so that's her salary, but again, because she's hourly, she's only coming in X days a week. So it's kind of like, yes, it's reduced, but do I want to make it official and put it on paper that it's reduced? No, because again, if she gets a position where she kind of increases that, then she may go back. So I leave it there. Then next year, this time when we're having the same conversation, it'll be less, and we'll be like, yay. If you could tell already, I like to kind of like overestimate, and then when I come in under, it's always a good thing, so. Sorry, Marge.
While we were talking about paper and the cost of it, is there any way we can go back to larger spreadsheets? We used to have bigger.
You know what we did, and Marge, I think that's me. So I realized this last night. When I created the documents, I set it for legal for the finance spreadsheet. And then when I put everything together, computers being what they are and printers being what they are, it said, oh, you have letter size paper and legal size paper. And instead of merging them and doing what I wanted to do, it did what it wanted to do, and it just created everything on letter size paper. So Teddy has actually put this same report. There's a link to that report on the website. You can download that. It's a PDF that you can download and read. Huh?
When I get out my magnifying glass.
Right.
It's here in church where I want to maybe comment or look up something.
No.
It's very, very difficult.
No, I know. I mean, and again, if you want, you know,
Good lighting here, either.
well, yeah. I mean, Marge, if you want, see me before you leave, and I'll print you a regular sized copy of it. Okay. I mean, and again, questions don't stop today. If you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to me. You know, I encourage that, right? So if you have a question, and I say this to anybody looking at the report, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. You know, you can click on the website and, you know, it'll take you straight to my email. And again, you know, more than happy to research it or respond to your question and let you know. Any other questions?
Just a thank you. That's a big job that you do. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Robert. Always good to get thanked for a thankless job. So that brings us to our event committee.
Good afternoon, everybody. As head of the events committee, 2021 really wasn't a banner year for us. I think we all understand why. However, And I'm not going to steal any of Teddy's thunder or the communications team's thunder. We had a brand-new event that caught fire, ran like gangbusters, which was amazing. The idea of the Christmas in July telethon, which just had phenomenal reception. I mean, it was just beyond anything that we could ever imagine. I'll tell you a quick story. I can remember manning the phones for the Christmas telethon in July, and we kind of had a panic because we started making more money with that event than we ever thought we would. And we're having to, kind of come up with content on the fly to make sure that everybody was, having a good time. And, our little friend back up there, running the board, producing all of this, just amazing. The things that he came up with, the way it was produced, the way it was all put together. Let's everybody give Teddy a round of applause for that. So not only is he a great sax player, but the video production thing, I think he's got a career ahead of him. So after the Tech Telethon, next thing that we had coming up was the Fall Festival, which was another new item that we put on the agenda. Went through, did pretty well with that. I think we did better than we expected, didn't we? And it was kind of a event that we put out there to kind of test the waters, make sure that, okay, how is this all going to work? Are we going to be able to follow COVID protocols? Because the last thing that we could ever do was completely cancel the Holly Bazaar. Now, I'm leading into that. I'll get there in a minute. But the Fall Festival, I think, was very well attended. People had a good time. It was enjoyable. We were outside. We had our vendors set up. We had some church tables set up. We were able to, what's the term that you used regarding the thrift shop?
Open?
Yes. We were able to open the thrift shop outside in the yard, and I think it was a good day. It was a little windy. I do remember that, but sunshine, beautiful. The money that we were able to collect from that is all being put towards some repairs that we have here at the church that need to be taken care of. It was a great event. I think we're going to do it again this year. It's kind of up in the air depending on a lot of things, but then everything's up in the air depending on a lot of things. So that was kind of the lead-in demonstration, test to make sure that, we're going to be able to do the Holly Bazaar in person as opposed to the way it was done in 2020, which was, online, pardon, the online process. And over the past couple of years, we've actually been able to evolve the Holly Bazaar, take it from, the pre-COVID time to full-on COVID to somewhere in between. And again, this is another event. It's a hallmark. It's a staple of the church. We've been able to do it for years, keep the tradition running, build new traditions, build new processes. One of the great new things that we put together this year is Megan's fault. The Gingerbread Cafe, we were able to bring all of that outside and be able to serve coffee and snacks in a COVID-safe way. That will become another hallmark of the Holly Bazaar moving forward. She's already volunteered to do that again, so thank you very much for that. I realized, one of the conversations that we've had around that was, she was outside making coffee, but, people were wondering, okay, what's really going on here? So, I think one of the improvements we're going to make for 2022 is going to be additional signage, making sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on. But other than that, we had a really good time. It wasn't a huge event numbers-wise compared to some of the other Holly Bazaars that I can remember. However, in the middle of this whole COVID situation, we were able to bring in over $3,800 from this one event. That's doing pretty well. We were able to have the entire driveway out here full of vendors, had people coming in, good flow every day, or the entire time. We had some vendors inside that were doing pretty well. Judy was selling jewelry, having a good time. But going through the numbers, there's something that kind of sticks out for me, because there was a conversation of, for the Holly Bazaar, what makes money, what doesn't. And I started looking at the numbers regarding the trees and wreaths. So for trees and wreaths, we're talking, that was 43% of the expenses of the event. All totaled, that was $775 roughly, out of roughly $1,800 worth of expenses that we had. Now, from a profit perspective, trees and wreaths accounted for less than 6% of the profit that we made. So we did make money from trees and wreaths, but it was effectively, just a little bit of a bump, not quite a wash. But that's just something to keep in mind, that, these are things that we're doing that are traditions, understandably, but at the same time, they're not really generating much in the area of profit. So something to keep in mind as far as that goes. We are looking at doing a complete postmortem on the Holly Bazaar 2021, what we did, what could be done better, these sorts of things. So it's just, a lot of things are rolling together as far as that goes. Looking forward, 2022, I think that the new events committee chairperson will have a little bit of a challenge ahead of them based on, again, the whole COVID situation. I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue some of the things that we're doing, expand on them, get back to some of the traditions. I think it looks a little iffy at this point for the St. Patty's Day event or the pancake breakfast. But as we get further down the road, maybe we could do, the outdoor service again. We could go back to maybe a movie in the yard, something like that. Fall Festival, Holly Bazaar, yes, we're talking about it again for 2022 already. So just, it's a lot of touch and go. There's not a whole lot that you can write in stone and say, okay, this is going to happen in 2022, because there are just so many variables. But, through a lot of work, a lot of volunteer effort, a lot of planning, we can put some things together, keep the traditions alive, and, revitalize the energy in the church. So with that, I want to say thank you to both Teddy again for the tech event, for Stephanie for running the Holly Bazaar, and everybody else for putting up with me as event committee chairperson. So, thank you. Ed?
Steph,
Sure.
are you going to
One
talk?
of the things that I noticed with what we were doing are with the trees.
Mm-hmm.
They bring people in
Mhm.
just for the tree, and they come in and they buy things
Mhm.
from the vendors. So me personally, I don't know, I wasn't involved in the trees,
Mhm.
but I noticed that a lot of the people came, they stopped because of the trees.
Mhm.
So in other words, once they got their trees loaded up, they came in. Or
Right.
sometimes even before that, they would shop a little bit there. So in other words, I don't know that you could put a total price on something like that, because the tree's tall.
Right.
People see that from the road. They know, they see what's going on, but they don't really see a lot, but they come and look for that tree. So when they come in, or the wreath,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. So in other words, I think we have to consider that. I mean, I don't know how much, I know there's a lot of work involved in it too, but it brings in people. Because their trees are right there at the beginning.
Right.
And they can see it.
Understood. There are a lot of factors that would go into a decision one direction or another.
Yeah.
And, there's still a lot of discussion that needs to be done. We're January, that's December. It's a bit of a road to get there, but I understand the point that you're making, and it's,
Because I noticed that I was,
Mhm.
I walked the whole place because I was visiting everyone.
right,
I didn't have anything to do with the trees, Nancy did, but the idea of it is that people were stopping because of that. And I think
Right.
that
Yeah.
I really
Right.
And like, people drive by and they say, well, I haven't got the tree yet.
Right.
And they'll stop, you know, so whatever it may be, but
I don't think it's so much, Eddie, of us not doing trees, just looking at how we can make those trees a little bit more successful, because they are an important part of the Holly Bazaar, and we don't wanna see it go away, but how can we make it? I think Stephanie actually really wants to talk on this.
Just to put some understanding behind what Andy has put out there, is that the truth is that all of the trees that we sell, with the exception of 1 or 2, are purchased by people in the church. So
no,
really
there was
what you're
people that
doing
came,
is,
there was people that bought the trees that were not from our church.
well, we only had 2 people that could have done that, because there were only 2 trees that weren't accounted for to be sold that day. And it's a lot, like, it seems like it's an easy thing, but it's really not. It takes a lot of coordination and effort. And honestly, that's something we could just do as our parish. We don't need it for the Holly Bazaar. If we
So
want
at
to do
least we
a
put some
Christmas
trees
tree
out.
fundraiser,
Yeah.
that because that's really what it is.
This is a,
We ask everybody in the church, do you want a tree? And they say yes. And they give us the money, and then we put in, Stella puts in the order, and we add 1 or 2 trees because we know the margins for this are so thick. Now, reeds, on the other hand, I think that actually is something where we have an opportunity to, if we put more money into reeds, buying them and then selling them for a slightly more amount of money, we have an opportunity to make a bigger profit. So it's just about really, as Andy said, looking at the numbers, and not just the cost, but the effort that goes into all these things, because the truth is we're a small group of people that are trying to undertake a Herculean effort.
Yeah.
And if there is something that we can do that allows us to take some of the stress off of our people, and at the same time increase the amount of money we make, I think that's what we call a win-win. So that's really what we're trying to do here, is what's gonna get us the biggest bang for the buck. At the end of the day, and also keep everybody happy and joyful. I mean, that's the thing that the Holly Bazaar is asking to be, is holly and jolly.
that's right.
Yes.
And are you going to present anything about the bazaar beyond what's already, beyond? But, okay, I just wanted you to come to the microphone if you were, but I just want to thank you for all your hard work. I know how much hard work it was, and you know, and a Christmas bazaar is one of those things that is a labor of love. It's often thankless, but it's also, you know, I just did a little bit of math, and I'm really bad at math, but that event made at least $600 and some odd per hour, if you want to look at it that way. So now, I don't know if you noticed, if you're really paying attention, you will have noticed that Andy slipped in the next events chairman. He slid that little thing in right there. So we're going to be looking for a new events committee chairman. Does not have to be a vestry person. But I want to also say thank you to Andy for taking on a huge task and having mighty big shoes to fill. So it's a good thing you have big feet.
Thank you. Thank you.
But thank you for that. You know, it's very difficult. Andy's been going to school, working, and they have to commute from New Jersey. So I'm just very grateful that they're still, that your family is still here, and that you're willing to stay on the vestry and advise the next events committee chairman,
Sure.
whether you know it or not.
Sure.
So thank you all very much for
Thank
that.
you.
That brings us to our communications department.
It's always slightly risky leaving the stream kind of unattended. I've got it on a remote control. I'm super immune. I'm just going to start coughing if I try to speak to you with this thing on. But no one's going to get COVID from me, and I can't get it from you. So I'm just going to keep the, actually, legitimately, the remote control is on my phone right now. So I just want to make sure we're working okay. So I've got a lot of numbers here. I'm glad they put Andy in between Robert and I because it would have just been too many numbers back to back to back. But we'll get to those. So first things first, we did a major event that keeps getting rave reviews even to this day with the first ever All Saints Telethon. That raised enough money that we were able to invest in another camera, some additional microphones. The building is now properly wired for Wi-Fi, high-speed Wi-Fi throughout the church. You can actually start a live stream from pretty much every room in the building now, which is really, that's a big deal, and that costs a lot of money usually. But we were able to do it fairly cheaply. I know for a fact that this is the case because I get to see, all the churches in the diocese and the type of stuff that they're investing in. And there's one church, I'm not going to name anybody, but there's a church that spent like $4,000 just to get the internet put into the building. I think we spent $1,000 maybe total. So that's a huge deal. But the telethon was so successful. I mean, we came in knowing that there would be some money that we could plan for, but we did have to make plans on the fly quite a bit to make sure that it stayed, that we kept going because it was going so well. And I think people were truly entertained by it. It was as much a show as it was a fundraiser. I mean, when you get to pie the priest in the face, that's pretty good.
Double bonus for you.
Yes, there was a double bonus for me. And there is some initial talks for a potential second ever telethon. Notice I'm not saying Christmas in July because I think we kind of did the Christmas thing, but potentially raise the roof telethon. I'm in talks with Mark Palmieri about potentially doing some work in a theatrical manner. I'm not going to go into details because we haven't finalized anything yet, but I would say you can expect there will be another telethon this year, whether it's purely online like it was last year or if it'll be kind of a hybrid event. That's going to be something to discuss down the line. So I spoke a little bit about some of the physical improvements that we made. We have a new PTZ camera. That's a pan, tilt, and zoom. So we have two cameras, and that's the primary cameras that you see in your live stream. We have a total of 4. There are 2 smaller cameras that get a number of different angles, and they can be moved around. We also have the ability to bring in additional cameras if we ever need them. We have one camera that we own that was purchased as a part of the original installation here that we kind of moved away from, but it's always available to get brought back into the system when needed. We have new wireless microphones. That microphone right there was a huge investment. Those are, and it's off. Those are industry standard microphones, and they're the type of mics that you can run over them with a pickup truck, and they'll be like, "What was that?" I've actually seen it done. These are really some of the best quality out there for our applications. We also put in some new mic stands that allow us to have a much more safe placement of those stands. Because the stands that we had before were not intended for being at the height they were at. They were more intended to be used for like a piano player, whereas we had them going 10 feet in the air, which was not safe, and it would have been horrible if someone gotten hit in the head with them. These won't do that. They have 15-pound weights on the bottom of them, and they are also industry standard. We did some additional cabling, including the internet and audio and video. We now easily can bring the what we call the Jumbotron, the television, in and out, and it links into our system in about 5 minutes. So, with that being said, all of these investments have paid off. So I'm just going to give you the YouTube totals for a moment here. I'll get to the rest of our social media in a little bit, but YouTube is our primary video platform. That's how our website is fed. When you watch a video on our website, you're watching it through YouTube. So overall, we had total impressions was 41,074. That is including videos created before 2021. So that's if someone went back and watched them, it gets included into this total. And that total drops to 30,133 on videos just made in 2021. So an impression, just so you know, is anytime we appear in a YouTube search or a feed. It's anytime that people can see a picture of us, what the video was. They don't necessarily click on it, but we'll get to that. So we had a total viewership of 4,223 across all of our videos on our channel, and 3,686 views on videos created before 2021. And this is just YouTube, by the way. We have more than just the YouTube. Average duration viewed was about 21.8% across videos on the channel and 28.4% on videos created before 2021. Now, there are a number of factors why people might not be watching things completely in total. Anytime you click in and look for something in a video, that counts as a view, and if you only watch 3 minutes of it, that counts as how long it was. Or when you go back and watch coffee house videos, for instance, a lot of people tend to go in and watch 1 act or 2 acts that they're specifically invested in. And you can actually see those totals when you look back at the video analytics. These are all totals. So I've done a little bit of breaking down what our most popular things are. Unsurprisingly, the worship videos are the most viewed on our sites. We had 14,588 impressions for our worship services across our channel and 12,998 just for videos this year. We had a viewership of 1,722 for videos created before and viewed in 2021, and a viewership of 1,600 for videos created in 2021. And unsurprisingly, the duration view is much higher for just the 2021. That's people watching live. People that watch live tend to stay in for the whole time. Church School is another one of our really popular ministries that's, you know, at least mostly online, this part of it at least. We've had 6,825 impressions for Sunday School, 5,620 for videos created just in 2021. We had a total of 511 views for videos created before 2021 and in 2021, and then 450 for just the videos made in 2021. Average duration viewed, 27.9%. Again, this is a behavior that is most likely related to the fact that these are children watching or family groups watching that might not be able to go through a full 30-minute episode in one go very easily. So those numbers get skewed just a little bit. And the Major Tom's Coffee House has 10,830 impressions, a total of 1,148 views, and average duration of 11.48%. As I say, that's probably because people tend to click through and either watch themselves back or watch their friends and family back. So here's the top 5 most viewed videos of 2021. The 2021 Bayside Men's Glee Club concert came in at number 1 with 119 views. Major Tom's Coffee House 39 from October came in at 116. Coffee House 33 from April 2021, and July 2021 came in at 114, and Coffee House 38 in September came in at 111. So those views include both the people that watched and the people that went back and watched later on. And we gained 26 subscribers to the YouTube channel in 2021. That brings our total up to 70. Not the world's highest total, but it makes sense seeing that I think a lot of people watch through our website and would never come in contact with the subscribe button. But of course, if you are watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It does really help get the videos out there. The more people that are subscribed, the more people that watch, the more people it's shown to. So moving on to the more traditional social media, we've got Facebook. Our Facebook page has 401 likes. That's up 24 people in 2021. 475 followers. Now the difference between those two is you can follow a page without liking it. I don't exactly know why you would do that, but if you follow a page, you get the feed, or you get the posts in your Facebook feed, and you see it that way without it popping up in your personal profile that you like All Saints Church or MTV or the Mets. And we had a total reach of 26,260. This is down 13% from 2020. Not surprising, again, seeing that our services are back in person, at least partially. So it makes sense that some of these numbers are a little bit down. We had 1,829 page visits. Again, this is a little bit down, but this also makes sense because YouTube became our primary video destination instead of Facebook, because YouTube is much more trustworthy than Facebook is in terms of live streaming. They've been doing it a lot longer. You can actually see in the report there's a breakdown of our demographics. Most of our Facebook viewership, unsurprisingly, comes in the 65 plus female demographic. That is right in line with Facebook demographics in general. So we're right where we should be, I think, with that. Now, Instagram, we have 152 followers. That's up 34 in 2021. That's a very nice increase. And we reached 300 people. That's a 61.3% increase from last year. And page visits, that's 142, which is down from 2020. Again, not as surprising because in the height of the pandemic, we used social media very, very frequently to make sure that everyone knew what was going on. We have tried to keep that going, but there's thankfully less very important announcements that have had to go out about various things, and it's more event-based, and sometimes it's just inspirational posts or something to keep us going. And you can actually see the demographics. This skews much younger. Most of our viewership on Instagram is from 35 to 54. And I'm going to cough now. My apologies. All right, so Twitter followers are now at 105, and we had around 9,100 impressions. Now, our Twitter had to be reset about midway through 2020. We had to start from scratch, unfortunately. So we're still trying to get back to the 400 follower range that we were at on the original Twitter page. So again, if you're on Twitter, please make sure you're liking, sharing, commenting all the various posts. So now we have the website. We launched a brand new website in December of 2021. The new website's putting focus on ease of access for videos, photos, events, making donations, and really anything else we need to do in the community. The website is now searchable, which is huge when you're trying to go back and find stuff. Since we have this new ever-growing video library and photo library, you can now go in and search for different terms and be able to find what you're looking for the most part. And the site is now more likely to be found on Google thanks to some SEO optimization.
Really?
Yes. That's search engine optimization. I didn't think that one through. The overall purpose of the website still remains to be used as a way for people to discover All Saints. When you come in, you are greeted with now I'm going to blank on it, but you're going to be greeted with our de facto mission statement, and there's loads of information on the site for anyone interested in joining or even just kind of understanding more about the church and its history here in Bayside. So some totals for viewership in 2021. We had, and this is across both the old and the new website, we had 8,099 page views, 3,344 sessions, 3,032 visitors, 2,115 new visitors. It's pretty good numbers. Since we launched the new website, we've actually done incredibly well. We've had 1,627 page views, 453 visitors. I'll let you read through the boring details. And our homepage was viewed 946 times since launching the new website, which is way up from what it was doing before. So there is still some room for improvement with all of this. As I keep saying, the best way to get these pages, these websites to grow is to like, comment, and share posts on Facebook, retweet, quote tweet, like and comment on Instagram posts, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and always, whenever you see anything All Saints, like it or react to it if you're on Facebook, comment on it if you can, and share it. That's the best way to make it happen, and it will make that reach go up immensely. And there's always some useful equipment and new equipment that can be purchased. This industry is growing with live streaming. There's new technology unleashed every day. Just something to draw your attention to. You're hearing me quite clearly today, and everyone here, thanks to Tom Espenshade's portable PA system. This takes a long time to set up every time because it involves having all the cables run from the balcony and across here. And whenever Tom needs it, we got to take it back down again. One of my New Year's resolutions is to have a company come in and quote us for a sound system that would be designated to this space exclusively, which would upgrade the quality of sound that we're hearing. It would be designed for the space, and it would be much more easy to control. Obviously, we've got to put a roof on the place, and that's going to come first, but we do still have some tech fund money from the telethon and from the initial round. So that is something that I think would be a great little investment for the tech this year. So, and as always, if you have any questions about any of this, feel free to ask.
So how much is still left in the tech fund one, and what do you think the system would cost to wire?
So I think we have about 2,000 left. Does that sound about right?
All right.
A little less.
Yeah, a little less than that.
Okay. Yeah, we had $9,000 pledged. I don't think we actually got that full amount from the tech fund, but
What do you think it would cost to?
it depends a little bit on what the sound experts would say. I'm more video specialized than sound, but my expectation would be around 2,000 to 3,000. So we'd be probably looking to raise another 2,000 for the system, if I had to guess. It might be less than that, depending on the speakers. The speakers that I'm currently looking at come in around $850 a piece, and then we need an amplifier. So that's how I get the 2,000. I can probably do the labor myself, although if they can price the labor fairly, then it might be better. But I just want to have a consultation with someone.
I think one of the things, we were able to sign on, I think since day one of the pandemic, we were able to sign on, we were able to kind of follow everything. But you don't really realize what we have until you try and watch someone else's service.
Yeah.
And painfully, I've done that, and I think some of us have, and when you go to them and you try to watch, you try to follow their services, you're like, ugh.
And I actually do some comparisons against other churches in the area. We do the best.
So,
And you're also on the bishop's staff and do this
That is true.
kind of stuff, so.
So. So, with that, I hand it back to dispatch.
Deputy Tech. You know, he talked about having cables run. Well, he did a lot of that cable running himself, which means that he got intimately familiar with the crawl space underneath where Judy and I are sitting. It's a lovely spot. That brings us to Altar Guild.
Stephanie has a question.
Oh. Stephanie has a question, yes.
Just one thing, really quick. So I just wonder if the vestry has thought about another administrative line item for a technical consultant. I think that, we're really lucky, as you just pointed out, that we happen to have somebody like right here homegrown in our parish. But I mean, the reality is Teddy's not gonna be here forever. And somebody's gonna have to do this job going forward. Like, I don't see anyone ever pulling back from this because, I think that from an outreach and evangelism standpoint, this is an enormous opportunity for the church. So that's just something that I wonder if you guys thought about this at all in your discussions.
The short answer to that is not yet.
Okay.
It's been running around in my head a little bit, and I'm sure in Robert's, but it hasn't made it onto the agenda of a meeting, and it probably should.
we're kind of holding our breath right now. You know, again, we're blessed and lucky to have Teddy, but yeah, the day is gonna come that we're gonna need to do that. I think one of the things I mentioned, as we're coming out of post-pandemic, we're gonna pivot, we're gonna do things a little differently. And maybe that's one of those things that, digital outreach, our digital ministry is growing to be a big part of what we do. And again, it's going to be key to reaching different demographics, right? So you attract people out there, they make it here. So I think that's when we would start to kind of look at that on a whole and then kind of project some numbers against them.
And I will say that I have been, since day one, of being here, I've been not a fan of wearing a microphone in this space. I've got a big mouth, and I can easily fill this room by just projecting a little bit. But I've come to realize that it is, on occasion, it is handy to have yeah, thank you. Not to mention a brain transplant, but it's been handy to have the amplification, and some of us aren't getting any younger, so it might also be a way of being hospitable to some of our soon-to-be older parishioners as well. So we'll continue to think about it. And since I have to wear the wretched microphone anyway, it can do double duty. So, all right. Thank you, Teddy. And Altar Guild.
You want me to come up there, Father?
Yes, that's the only way you'll be heard online. We're on TV.
I have a big mouth too. Don't say anything.
Sometimes these masks come in handy.
I can tell by your eyes. I just want to say thank you to the Altar Guild members. We have been out of touch for 2 years, almost. And thanking Father and Susan, besides shoveling snow. They were the Altar Guild that filled in and, made the service happen. So it doesn't go unnoticed how much you did. You can tell by our budget, Carol Crow is our treasurer. We have a nice amount of a balance, $8,775.95. That is with the generosity of all of you for flowers and for memorials, and thank you very much. Because of COVID, we haven't had to spend money on supplies such as wine. We have plenty of wine to go around, but that money oftentimes is used as a gift to the church. And I was just noting that Father mentioned a wish list. And I'm not jumping the gun when I look at the signage that he would like to change or refurbish in front of the church. The Altar Guild had a meeting already, and we had spoken about refurbishing the sign outside. So that would kind of take a load off the church monies. So we'll talk about that. And any small thing that needs to be done, you know, we're open to sharing that money. And so if anybody has any ideas, please come forward. The other thing is that this forum is just a great transparency for our church. And I welcome the opportunity of being here, and I thank you all for your work, your hard work. I hope questions, I'm only speaking for myself, specifically for me, do not come off as a criticism of hard work of everybody, because that's not what it's meant to be. It's just questions that we have, that I have, and I think you're all doing a great job, and I thank you for being here, because like Father said, it's nice to get a thank you for a thankless job. So I thank you all, and that's it.
Church school.
So sitting out here, believe it or not, I've been thinking about my high school biology class, where I learned way back when the word hybrid. And little did I ever imagine in high school or in all the years taking education classes or being in a classroom that the word hybrid was going to become such an important part of my life, as it has. So our church school is a hybrid ministry. We are online, and we are also live and in person in any way we can be safely. So you all get to hear me every Sunday give my little commercial for Sunday school, which I also never expected I would be doing. But we are doing Church School TV. It is a television program with various segments. We have children's literature every episode. We have arts and crafts. We have music. We have cooking, and we also have Bible study, and it all comes together around a theme. Our overarching theme for church school, I think we could call it the inclusive love of God, and how we can love inclusively as Jesus would want us to do. And I think that comes through in every episode. We try to keep in mind how children learn, and so we try to come up with activities, even though we're online, that children can do with their families at home. And we've been very successful with that, and with having the kids then come back to the church. We have artwork all over the halls, if you notice, that have been made by children at home and brought back to us based on our church school classes. We have children learning music at home and that they can come back and share with us here. Of course, the Christmas pageant being our pride and joy. We use a curriculum called, okay, now I'm going to space it out, the Illustrated Ministry, yes. That is our sort of base, but we flesh that out as being very specific to All Saints and certainly to the Episcopal Church. We have the children involved in art projects, music projects, but I think what we really, really want more than anything is to create a sense of community, for the children to feel that they are an important part of what we do here, that they matter to us, each as individuals. And then what happens is we start to matter to them as well. And I'm happy to say that we have young adults coming back to visit us from college and beyond college who remember their time here at All Saints, that it made a difference in their lives. And that impact then gets passed on by them to the people that touch their lives. So I'm very privileged to be here and to have this opportunity to teach in a way I would never have thought was possible just a few years ago. Actually, 2 years ago. So thank you very much, all of you, for really making it possible. Thank you.
What you see what you don't see, actually you do see, but you just don't know you're seeing it in these church school videos, is the hours that Susan puts in, making them work together. I just come in and do my goofy thing, and I get to be, Gracie Allen to her George Burns.
I have to come back because that's not really true. He does the goofy thing very, very well as part of our characters in our church school, but he's very supportive of everything that goes on around here for children, and he has a relationship with the children here, and I think that's so important.
Well.
So.
As I was saying before I was so wonderfully interrupted, there's a lot of hours of prep and study and all that goes into each of those, and we need to thank Susan, also Teddy and Diana and Tom Espenshade and our friend Artie Chenault, who we rope in on a regular basis. Now he's someone who's become an adjunct to the parish, and we got him through Major Tom's Coffee House. So, and Artie is just a wonderful guy, so we're really glad that he's part of our extended family. So, I don't know if we have a report from ECW and or UTO. Marge, have we got anything? Come, if you don't mind coming to where you can be heard. Better if she comes forward.
Well, the ECW of All Saints is inactive right now because we cannot meet in a small room. There are only about 7 or 8 active members. So with so few active members, it's difficult to get a project going for the church. It's difficult to round up people, for instance, for a prayer breakfast or anything that would be a fundraiser for the church. So in that respect, it's too bad that more people are not interested, and it's also too bad that we can't have meetings. However, I am in constant contact with other members of the ECW from the Diocese of Long Island, and especially Queens. Queens ECW has a meeting 4 times a year, and it's good. It's online now on Zoom, and you can go in there and you can see what the other churches are doing. A lot of them do fundraising for something called Church Seamen's Institute, and they do knitting, and there are various groups, various outreach groups for Queens and for the whole diocesan ECW. And it's a good way, if you go into the Queens Zoom meeting, to see what other churches in this archdeaconry are doing and in the rest of diocese. And some of them have big groups of 20, 30 people if they're big parishes, and they can get things done on a outgoing basis and also for their own parish. Now, switching to UTO, we had only one UTO in-gathering this year. I already forgot what month it was. Was that the May?
I don't remember.
Yeah. And we didn't do badly considering it was just one. And we had one very generous parishioner who really lifted up our earnings. And next year, if things go well, we'll have 2, one in May and one in November. And we'll just have to play it by ear.
Oh, we'll do it. That's easy.
All right, any questions?
One thing I would say that even though the ECW hasn't been meeting traditionally around the table in the Christian service room, there have been things going on, and at least one of your members has created, has done some card showers for people and done some outreach. So, I mean, that has, I don't know if that's officially under the ECW umbrella, but you're not completely dormant.
Well, every woman in the Episcopal Church is a member of the ECW.
That's right, whether they like it or not, you know.
So,
And the children made the turkey UTO box.
yes.
Right.
I noticed that.
Yeah, so it's not everything is asleep, and and I know for a fact that those card showers that went, I know to Reese, my father-in-law, that made a huge difference for him when he was stuck in rehab. It really brightened him up. So that kind of thing, not everything's about fundraising, you know, not everything's about fundraising. When we get stuck in that, we get into a wrong-headed place. So thank you for what you've been doing for years and years, and for representing us on the diocesan level. So there are, if you're interested in what's going on in the national ECW, there are magazines in the narthex from the national ECW. So, okay, now we're going to have everybody stand up for a second. 7th inning stretch here, because we're running long. We don't have to, well, we could, yeah, get me. Probably not much. So, but I just wanted to give us a chance to stretch our ancient knees before inviting our junior warden to the podium. And do you have anything, Karen, or? Okay, we'll come up to the mic and we can go ahead and sit down again. Teddy, I think, was going to make us sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," but we sat down.
Make my own
time.
little.
Or meet the Mets.
Kelly, the baseball game, knew the players, knew all their names. You could see her there every day, shout hooray when they played. Her boyfriend by the name of Joe said, to Coney Isle, dear, we'll go. Then Nellie started to fret and pout, and to him I heard her shout, hey, take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. 'Cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
So the only thing I have to say is that we have one more, besides the roof, a project that needs funds to be created for, and that is where Carol King creates her crafts, the side door. So that's the only thing I have to report, so that should be. I'm sorry? We allocated already?
I think we did.
Oh, okay, well, I've been out of touch. Oh, we always need more. But anyhow, that's on the top of the list also. Thank you.
That's a door that we never, that you probably don't, unless you're intimately familiar with the building, you don't even know it exists. But the door that is basically underneath the font, it's an exterior door that's probably original equipment to when the church was expanded. It's rotted out and we need to replace it. Not so much that, simply because we need to keep the elements out and any unwanted visitors. However, right now it's well secured. We're on there. I'm not going to say how well secured. Okay, so that brings us. Thank you, and Judy.
Okay, well, now it's good afternoon, everybody. I just want to say that it's very nice to actually talk to people this year as opposed to last year when I spoke to a screen. I actually like to see people much more. Last year, when I stood here and I talked to the screen, I reflected much about what changes happened because of COVID-19. And now we're approaching that 2-year mark of this fabulous pandemic. But we're also entering into our parish's 130th anniversary year. And I started to think about more, not so much of what we just did in this past year, but what's happened in 130 years and how this parish has adapted and survived many struggles. And while I was thinking, I started to think about the words in our logo. So you know the logo that we have, and those words are Thanksgiving, generosity, celebration, and heritage. But I kept having another word pop into my head, and that word was resiliency. And so to make sure that I had the right word, because sometimes, I don't know, I'm not sure, I went to the dictionary, because that's what we were taught to do in school, is go to the dictionary if you didn't know the definition of a word or you didn't know how to spell it, which I never understood why you would ask me to go to the dictionary to figure out how to spell a word, because I couldn't spell it. But anyway, I looked up resilience. And resilience, the definition, one of them is the ability of a person to adjust to or recover readily from illness, adversity, major life changes. I think we've experienced all of that in the last 2 years. Major life changes, though. We, all of us here in this parish, have been adjusting to these major life changes for almost 2 years. But All Saints, the people that have been keeping this church going for the last 130 years have had to adjust and recover from illness, adversity, and major life changes many times over those 130 years. And I believe that they were able to do that through the other words in our logo, with thanksgiving, through generosity, and in celebration of our heritage. Our heritage was built by those people who came before us in the past 130 years. And if we think about it, and it's often I think about, when you think about your own problems, and you're like, oh, what was me? But then there's always somebody else who's had other problems. Our parish has had to go through in that 130 years. Just even think about it. We worry about a place to park the car when you get here, like who's in the lot and blocking me. What about when you brought your horse here? Or there was no road, or those things. But there were 2 world wars There was a Great Depression. There was another pandemic. I and another senior warden have had the honor of being leaders in the church during those. Me and I don't know if it was one or two during that time, but those are just to name a few of the things that we have survived. So in 2021, we looked how we could continue our heritage and looked at ways that we could continue to expand what we do. We've used the word hybrid a lot, right? Hybrid is everywhere. You have hybrid in church, you have hybrid at work, you have hybrid in school. And like Susan, hybrid was just, something in biology before. But through our hybrid worship style, we were able to welcome you all back into the pews, but also allow those who maybe weren't comfortable coming back or unable to come back to be able to participate in our service as well every Sunday. Our children have been able to continue their Christian education through the Sunday school TV show, but also in what they do here and being in the service and having that Youth and Family Sunday each month, not each week. But they've been able to do that. We had our Christmas pageant this year. We had both, actually. So, we may have thought that COVID was a curse, but maybe it was a blessing. We got to see both Christmas pageants this year. Major Tom's Coffee House is in person, live in person, and also live streamed. And I know for a fact that there are people who don't come to church here, but do participate in watching Major Tom's Coffee House online. That is part of our ministry. That is part of getting us out into the community and sharing, our message and God's message throughout the community. We've all talked about taking the fundraising into new directions, adapting the traditional fundraisers that we know and giving them that modern twist. When I first heard about the telethon, the first thing that went into my mind was Jerry Lewis, right? Everybody thinks Jerry Lewis. As a kid, every Labor Day, we were watching the Jerry Lewis telethon. I wanted to know if we were going to have a tote board and, the numbers were going to turn, maybe for this time. I wanted like lights and, I don't know. But we had a telethon, and the telethon that, I'm going to be honest, who would have thought that Teddy would have thought of a telethon? Because, I have children Teddy's age, and I don't know if they would have thought of a telethon. But they thought of a telethon, but they took it to a new level. And that's part of taking tradition and making it new. And it was successful. I mean, they never expected to raise the amount of money that they did. So I think that was great, and it has allowed us to have all of this technology and continue to expand upon it. The Holly Bazaar. I will say the Holly Bazaar, just like services through COVID, never stopped. The Holly Bazaar didn't even stop. I mean, we had Holly Bazaar last year. We could have said, oh no, we're not going to have it. But thankfully, we were able to utilize the technology and have a virtual one. And then this year, because we're able to be back, we looked at what was great about the virtual one and what's great about our traditional one and how can we make that new. And I think we did a great job. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It had a new theme to it. It had the old elements. It had the new elements. And I think that we can continue to do those things. I'm happy to say that as a vestry, we actually meet in person again, and we've been doing so since the spring. We never missed our vestry meetings, though, before. We were on Zoom, and let me just tell you, it's much better in person. Throughout this whole time, the vestry has really continued to be responsible stewards for the church. And we have been exercising that fiscal responsibility that we have promised you all that we would do. We want to keep, as I said before, we want to keep the roof over our heads in both a figurative and literal meaning. It's been challenging, but those challenges aren't new to All Saints. And there will be challenges well after I'm not here in the next 130 years. And I think that it's how we face those challenges and that we do that together. We work together because we are one unit. We are one family. We're a parish family. And together, we work to strive to face those challenges. I'm I have a lot of hope for 2022. I am hopeful that I will soon see all of your smiles. You don't get to see mine very often, so here you go. I want to see your smiles. I'm happy to see you all every Sunday when I'm in the back of the church. It makes me happy to see you here. I've been back here in person since All Saints Day 2020. And it's nice to see that when it was like 2 people and 3 people and then 20 people, and then for, the other times when we've had more than that, it makes me happy. So I'm hopeful that that's what's going to continue, hopefully maskless. I'm hopeful that I'm going to get to eat with you all again. Because as Father said this morning, we do hospitality really well, and one of the things we do well is eat. And most of you know that I am a dietitian, so I'm all about the food, and I'm all about making sure that people eat and are happy eating. Nothing makes me happier than to see people eat and to feed them. So I'd like to do that again. But I just want to say that I am hopeful. I'm hopeful for what the future holds for our parish and for all of us. I know that our faith and the resilience that has brought us through to its 130th year will see us into the 131st year and beyond. And I look forward to see what we can do together. With that, I do have to say a moment of thanks. We also, as a parish, have a lot of gratitude, and our gratitude is for you, Father Byrne, for you, Susan, and for you, Teddy. You have kept us all going for the last 2 years. You have never let us miss a Sunday, not one. There's not one that was missed. You have worked with all of us to keep us faithful, to help guide us in our worship, so that we can continue to do what we need to do. And without you, we wouldn't be standing here at this 129th annual meeting. And what?
I think it's 130th, but
I don't know. I wrote 129th because I think my old one said 128th, but I don't know. I wasn't there for year 1. But yes, we as a family want to say thank you to you and to you and to you for all that you do for us to help us be thankful and to help us be generous and help us continue our heritage. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Unexpected.
Well, next year, I expect that I am giving this to you next door in the rectory at the Epiphany celebration. For that, I am hopeful.
As are we. In fact, we've been talking about figuring out how we could replace that event for 2021 since Epiphany is long gone. We're thinking about maybe we'll try to find some way of doing a barbecue or something in the summertime. So
we can eat?
Yeah. So you see why I'm so glad that Judy is going to be senior warden for another 2 years. So this brings us to our necrology, those who have passed away since our last annual meeting. And they are Dorothy McDonald, Teresa Lewis, Juanita Connor, Thomas Carroll, and Lily Weedle. She made it just under the wire for this year. Ethel actually died in 2020. Yep. Her burial service was in 2021, but we remembered her last year, and yeah, I thought about that too. I had to double check. Our biggest service of 2021 was Tom Ramsey's funeral. We had 88 people or something for that, so that was the biggest we had. So a reminder again, speaking of funerals, this afternoon from 2 to 4, and this evening from 7 to 9 up at Gleason's, the new Lloyd's, is Tom's wake, and then his service at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And Lily, her wake will be at 9 o'clock right here, literally where I'm standing, and the service will follow that. So let us pray. Father of all, we pray to you for those that we love but see no longer. Grant them your peace. Let light perpetual shine upon them, and in your loving wisdom and almighty power, work in them the good purpose of your perfect will, through Jesus Christ our Lord. And now the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. The blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost be amongst you and remain with you this day and forevermore. Before I pronounce this adjourn, take a look at our important dates for 2022, and we stand adjourned until the next annual meeting. The 131st annual meeting will be on January 22nd, 2023. Thank you all very much.